Hi, this is Teacher Jen from Camglish.com and welcome again to a new lesson on essential English patterns. Today, we will discuss a new pattern. But before that, I want to tell you that yesterday we discussed, warm-up pattern, for our following patterns in this unit, and that is with the question why. So that is why today our pattern starts with the question why. Okay? And let's start our discussion. Our pattern for today, as what I said a while ago, why don't you starts with the question why. Okay? So that means asking for something like, let's say, a reason. Okay? So now this pattern, why don't you? Why don't you? That means giving a suggestion to someone or asking to consider the person's opinion. Okay, again, remember it. When you say the pattern, why don't you, that means you are like giving a suggestion or asking to consider your opinion. Okay, so let's start with number 1, sample sentence. Why don't you look for a job? Why don't you look for a job? Okay, so as you can see, we use our pattern why don't you. And if you can notice, all the words with green circles, they are all verbs. So after the word you, we will have verbs, because it's like we are asking them to do something, and to do something is an action. Why don't you look for a job? When you say look for a job, that means find a job. So if you will tell this to someone, then that means you are suggesting to them that they should find a job. Number 2, why don't you take a break? Why don't you take a break? When you say take a break, that means have some free time off from work. It doesn't necessarily mean that you will have a vacation, but you can say, let's say, like 10 to 15 minutes of break. So that you can just release your stress, or refresh your mind and body. So you can say, why don't you take a break? Number 3, why don't you want to go with me? Why don't you want to go with me? So this time, in this sentence, that means asking for a reason why not consider going out with that person. Because we have the question why, so of course it is asking for a reason. So, and it's also asking to consider going out with that person. Number 4, why don't you tell him how you feel? Why don't you tell him how you feel? So this time, again, it is a suggestion, of what? Telling a person how you feel. When you say tell a person how you feel, that means express the feelings. Express what you feel, explain or say what you feel towards that person so that they will know what you feel. Number 5, why don't you listen to my advice? Why don't you listen to my advice? So listen to my advice, that means hear the advice or opinion, or follow the advice or opinion of someone. So this, in this sentence, it's giving a suggestion to someone to do something that you think is good or better for them to do. So why don't you listen to my advice? So our pattern for today is very, very easy. Now, let us read the sentences again, and please follow me. 1, why don't you look for a job? Why don't you look for a job? Why don't you take a break? Why don't you take a break? Why don't you want to go with me? Why don't you want to go with me? Why don't you tell him how you feel? Why don't you tell him how you feel? Why don't you listen to my advice? Why don't you listen to my advice? Very good. Now it's our time to make our own sentences. Now it's my turn. Why don't you go shopping and relieve your stress? Why don't you go shopping and relieve your stress? Okay, actually, that is what I really feel now. I want to go shopping, so maybe I can go shopping. Now it's your time to make a sentence. Very good. Now let's go on to the dialogues, okay? And for dialogues 1 and 2, I will be A and you will be B. Number 1. I am really tired of my boss. I can't. I have too much to do. Very good. Number 2. I am really tired. Thanks. I think I will. Very good. Now we have a word here. Okay, when you say overextend, that means go beyond the limit. Okay, go beyond the limit. That means you will use all your, let's say in work, if you will overextend yourself, then that means you will use all your energy, okay, in working. So that is overextending yourself. So please don't overextend yourself. Okay, now let's go back here. Okay, and I want you to memorize all of these sentences, and please, okay, don't forget to make your own sentences as well. Okay, because you can express yourself more when you will use your pattern. Okay, this pattern, why don't you? Okay, again, don't forget to use this pattern whenever you are expressing yourself, because you can express yourself more. Okay, so now this is the end of our class. This is Teacher Jen saying goodbye, and see you on our next video. Goodbye.